Hi friends and welcome back to my channel where we romanticize moss and pretend we live in a swamp surrounded by mushrooms. Today I'm sharing the story of Litha, the summer solstice or midsummer, which is filled with sunshine, ancient roots, and just a little bit of magic. And believe it or not, but this outfit totally unrelated. I'll be telling you about Litha, what it is, where it comes from. I'll be sharing some stories about deities and some myths that surround Litha. We'll get in some fate trouble, and I'll also share with you how you can celebrate Litha in your own special way. So what actually is Litha? Litha is part of the Wheel of the Year, which is basically the pagan party calendar. And you get a day off every 6 weeks or so. And then you get to fight with nature, wear a little flowy sundress or winter dress, and we get to lit stuff on fire. Litha is also known as midsummer or summer solstice, and it's the longest day of the year, usually around June 21st. Yes, I'm late to this party, like I am usually late to any party. Litha marks the height of the sun's power. It is the turning point of the year, after which the days are beginning to shorten again. The sun is showing off big time on Litha, like it's staging a golden tragedy at its peak. One last brilliant act before the slow descent back into shadow. It's rooted in ancient Celtic and pagan traditions, and like I said, it is honoring the sun at its peak. It's associated with fire, fertility, and the untamed playful nature of summer. It's a time to celebrate light, abundance, and the magic of the natural world. Now, the name Litha actually comes from medieval England, but this type of celebration is centuries old, millennia old. People all around the world are celebrating the sun at its height and the summer solstice. Ancient Celts, Germanic tribes, the Roman Empire, you name it. They were all about this praise the sun type of life. Even Stonehenge lines up with the summer solstice. So clearly the ancestors were making calendars even before Google Calendar was a thing. And the sun was a big part of that. Now let's talk deities, because no celebration is complete without some dramatic divine duo, is it? In some traditions, Litha is the time when the Oak King and the Holly King throw down in an epic solstice WWE moment. And spoiler alert, the Oak King is losing, and the days are going to shorten again. But don't worry about him, because he will be back for his revenge at Yule, for a classic seasonal plot twist. These two figures represent the dual aspect of the year: growth and rest, light and dark. At Yule, the Oak King defeats the Holly King, and he's representing the waxing part of the year, and he reigns through spring and summer. And then at the summer solstice, the Holly King is back, and he triumphs over the Oak King, which starts the darker part of the year. The days begin to shorten. Some myths portray these two as brothers in an eternal battle for balance, while in others they are depicted as two deities that are trading places in an eternal dance of time. And the story beautifully illustrates the rhythm of nature and our place within it, always evolving and always growing. Other deities linked to Litha include Luke, the Celtic overachieving multitasker; Apollo, the Greek god of music, light, and questionable decision making; and Ra, the Egyptian sun god who literally rides across the sky in a boat because chariots are so less dynasty. And if you're more into divine feminine energy, the Meter, the Greek goddess of harvest, agriculture, fertility, and the sacred law of life and death, embodies Litha perfectly, with her mix of fun and sunny, and very deep and dark and intense responsibilities. There's also Anya, the Irish solar deity, goddess of love, summer, fertility, and sovereignty. Sovereignty.
Sovereignty.
Who is also a Fey queen, and she's said to walk among mortals during summer solstice celebrations. And there's also Amaterasu, the Shinto sun goddess, who is the light of the universe and the ruler over Takamakahara, the high plains of heaven. And she's a radiant and powerful deity. All of them are worth worshipping during this time. Now let's get into how Litha has been celebrated over the years. Okay, so picture this. You are a ancient Litha celebrator. You already have your flower crown on, your sheep are vibing, and you just lit enormous bonfire. Why? Because the sun is fire, and people back then loved a good metaphor. In ancient times, Litha was celebrated with fire festivals, music, and feasting. People would gather, dance around the flames, and get your blessings for the coming months ahead. And people would actually do this by jumping over the flames, because that was said to bring good luck. And people would also gather herbs like St. John's wort, because it was said that harvesting them during Litha would make them the most potent, most magical. Which kind of sounds like an excuse for me to buy 18 new lavender plants, but I'm okay with that. It was also a time for hand fastings, blessing crops, and adorning your homes with greenery. And of course, don't forget the feasting. Naturally, Litha tables were filled with honey cakes, fresh berries, and summer fruits. And of course, meat, because nothing says thank you, sun, like a good fermented cup of flowers. The Fae or fair folk were also said to be especially active during this time of year because the veil between our worlds was said to be thinnest on summer solstice. This allowed for encounters that are enchanting but not always very safe. The Fae were said to lure people into dances, steal away livestock, or offer boons wrapped in riddles. To either protect themselves or gain favors, people left offerings of milk, honey, and fresh berries at the edges of forests or at little mushroom circles or beneath ancient trees, because these are places that were said to be portals to the other worlds. It was also customary to avoid fairy rings or linger too long around twilight groves. I mean, only if you don't want to be taken by a fairy prince. Litha thus became not only a celebration of abundance, but also a time of reverence for the unseen forces and the delicate balance between our worlds. Now, how can you celebrate Litha today or last week? So you want to celebrate Litha, but you don't live in an ancient grove or among druids. Same. Here's how you can celebrate in your own modern, probably Wi-Fi enabled life. Your Litha can be as simple or as elaborate as you would like. Here are a few ways to celebrate. Step 1. Get outside. Yes, this is necessary. You don't have to go far. You can just sit at your balcony, in your backyard, or if you have a nice foresty place near you, I would recommend going there. Soak up some sunshine. Be responsible though. Sunscreen is your familiar now. You can also connect with nature through a hike or a picnic. Just have some fun outside. Step 2. Decorate your home with some summer vibes. Pink, sunflowers, citrus fruits, gold candles, and anything that just screams sun goddess with a Pinterest board. Bonus points for making a sun altar or a sun wheel. Step 3. Eat something solar. Bake some honey cakes, sip some chamomile tea, or have one of those little sunsetty looking cocktails. Step 4. Fire. You cannot have a Litha, a summer solstice, without some fire. You don't have to make an entire bonfire or burn your house down. Just have a candle on. Or if you do have a little place in your backyard where you can light a little fire, do that. Sit around the fire with some loved ones, with some friends, tell stories to each other, and have a nice little evening with some alcoholic beverages maybe. Say a wish, release something that's no longer serving you, or just stare into the flames like the witch that you are, trying to contemplate the fate of the kingdoms. Or have a little barbecue. Step 5. Now don't forget that the herbs you're harvesting now, or last week, are going to be the most potent and the most magical. They are going to be for the entire year. If there's a spell that you want to try, now is the time to harvest your herbs for it. And finally, reflect. This is a peak moment. The light is at its height. What are you grateful for? What is blooming in your life right now? And how can you carry that golden energy into the next part of the year? Litha reminds us that light doesn't last forever, which makes it even more precious. So celebrate it while it's here. And celebrate the sun. She deserves it, and so do you. Laugh, dance, feast, and light something up. If you like this video, burn that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more from me. Leave down in the comments what you're going to do for Litha next year. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!